Shalom and good evening. Go ahead and share this out and invite somebody. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to get ready to rock and roll. We've been off for a minute, and I am ready. I'm excited. Well, what if the reason you're struggling to fulfill, or what if the reason you're struggling to fully step into your purpose has nothing to do with your calling and everything to do with clarity? We're going to talk about that this evening. What if the blueprint God has for your design and your destiny, what if it's been inside of you the whole time, but you've never slowed down long enough to identify the pattern God built into your design? Tonight is all about activation, about discovering how heaven wired you to build. We've been off for a few weeks, but we're going to step boldly back into the builder archetype and the thing that God crafted inside your spiritual DNA. Because in each and every one of us is already a code embedded in us by God on who we are, why we're here, and what we're here to do. Well, welcome back, Kingdom family, to week 4 of Kingdom Architects, building what outlasts you. Over the last several weeks, we've uncovered the 6 builder archetypes: the repairer, the restorer, the repairer who restores what's broken, the reformer who reshapes what's out of order, the gatekeeper, who guards. We're going to look at some of those in depth a little bit more as we pick back up this week. I want to welcome you all back. We've been off for a couple of weeks on break and on vacation, giving you an opportunity to catch up on your assignments and to put in the work that you need to in order to get ready for weeks 4 and ahead, which is going to be very important. And so this evening, we're going to begin looking at a few things as we are going to um, dive back in deeply and heavily into our blueprint design. As we've said, we've already covered the 6 builder archetypes. I'm going to do another review on those again this evening. But we looked at the repairer, he who restores what's broken, the reformer who reshapes what's out of order, the gatekeeper who guards the gate, the watchman who discerns the times, the scribe who documents that revelation, and the multiplier who reproduces and the impact. Each of these patterns, as we've discussed in weeks past, carries a unique grace, and every believer has a primary pattern that shapes how they build in the kingdom. And we're going to look back at those here just briefly as we get ready for this overview here with you this evening. And we're going to talk about unlocking your kingdom identity, preparing for your builder archetype assessment. And this is going to be very important because many have asked about, how do I know how to do this, do that, the next thing? I'm not sure. We're taking out all the guesswork. I was sharing with my wife the other day at dinner. And I said, it's finally been able to come to pass and come to fruition. All the years that I put in and that I've invested into this about helping people to understand their gifts, their talents, their abilities, helping them to walk in purpose and live a divinely inspired life. And so it's finally all of the things technological wise and access with all of the information age that we have. It's made everything possible and doable, which is exciting me to the point of no end. I mean, I've spent hours in here going through my lessons and my plans and building and putting things together because I'm just so excited that everything has finally come together. But tonight's assignment is going to be simple. Tonight's assignment is simple but powerful. We're going to activate your pattern and help you prepare for your Kingdom Architect assessment in a couple weeks so that you can begin confidently walking in the design God has placed within you. And this is very important because I'm going to help you identify your builder blueprint, your primary and secondary archetype, so that you can step into your divine pattern. Now, we're not going to get too deep into that this evening because that's covered in the assessment, but I do want to cover it and go through it with you so that you understand, so that when you are taking that assessment, you have a better idea as to what's this all about, what's happening, what's taking place. Because my purpose tonight is to help you and everybody that's watching and everybody that will watch later is to help you discover and then to activate your primary kingdom builder archetype by helping you understand the 6 patterns that we've already identified and their dominant gracing or your dominant gracing, and then helping you prepare for the assessment that's going to pull that out of you and really help you understand and finally solidify the build identity that you have been given and bring clarity to your functioning so that you can stop guessing, you can stop wishing, you can stop wondering, you can stop questioning what you're to do, what's with all the stuff that's in you, how do you do how you're to do it. We're going to take all of that guesswork out. And my goal is to prepare your mindset for this assessment that's coming up. And this is what we've been building up to these past several weeks. Because there's a belief out there and has been for quite some time. And I was under this illusion for many of years myself, that as long as I had the information, I would just begin walking in my identity. I just begin doing what it is I was supposed to do. I just begin being who it was I was supposed to be. But truth be told and truth be known, I fumbled a lot of years, and you did too. Fumbled around in darkness. I fumbled around in careers. I fumbled around in jobs and in placement, things that didn't make me happy, things that didn't fulfill me, things that didn't bring me joy and peace. Because the truth of the matter is, information without revelation never becomes transformation. Revelation becomes transformation only when identity is activated. And when you activate your true identity, then and only then can you walk in the true transformation that you've always been designed to walk in. And identity becomes clear when you recognize the divine pattern God built inside of you. And this is your moment. This is your time. This is your hour. This is your day. This is your season to reclaim the divine strategy that I'm sharing with you and giving you so that you can operate finally in clarity. And this is what I am most excited about because I'm able to bring clarity to people who've been walking in the fog, living in the fog, not understanding. Because the focus of these last several weeks that we spent and the weeks that we're going to go forward is that the archetypes that I'm revealing to you don't limit you. They help to launch you. They help to further clarify what's already in you. It's the identity that fuels the confidence now that you need to be a good steward and a wise steward of what's already been placed inside you and what's been placed in your hand. And the activation is your kingdom responsibility to walk in that and to walk that out. And so, as we review some of the assessment criteria tonight and what's going to take and what's going to happen, I'm going to give you some assignments that I'm going to ask that you complete because these are going to be very important. Because if you don't do the assignments, and you don't do the foundation, and you don't do the legwork, it's going to be very difficult to actually move into the next level of understanding. And so, without further delay, let us pray, and then we're going to go ahead and jump on into it. So, Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be gathered together tonight with your people. I pray that he that has an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying. I pray that we have insight, wisdom, revelation, and understanding. You will show us the things that are freely given to us by the power of your Spirit, and that we will walk in those things. And we will just move from just pure information into the realm of revelation so that we can begin walking in transformation. I thank you and I give you praise. This I thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen. So I'm going to go to my slides because I've got quite a bit I'm going to cover for you this evening. But we're going to look at some identification areas here. And the foundation piece that we're going to look at, as I just briefly recap and recover, several of the areas of what we've already been through several times. And if you're in the classroom, you've already gone through these, but we've talked about all 6 of these kingdom archetypes, okay? So that way you can understand. You will find yourself in more than one of them, which is really great, but you're going to have a primary one. And it's that primary one that we want to focus on. And then the one that is the secondary one that supports that. And I don't want you to feel as though you're going to be missing anything because you're not in one or the other. You're not. Trust me. Each of these patterns carry the unique and sufficiency of grace. God has graced each and every one of them for the assignment that they are to do. And it's every believer has a primary pattern that shapes their lives, that helps them to build and helps them to live and helps them to understand what it is that they're doing in their kingdom assignment. And in understanding this and knowing this, it helps you further solidify what you do in business, in ministry, in the marketplace, in life. Because when you understand who you are at its essence and at its core, you can begin walking in that realm of revelation and understanding. And this is what makes this so powerful, because as you begin walking through these patterns and begin understanding them and understand why this matters, especially at this time and at this juncture and this season of your life. I believe it matters more now than it ever has before, primarily because there's still many people out there who still are questioning. I meet them every day. I come across them all the time who are still wondering, what am I to do at this stage of my life? You know, all this that God has given me, all these talents, all these abilities, all these gifts, all these skills, and yet I haven't used many of them throughout my life. I haven't done a whole lot with them throughout my life. And we don't want to say that's a shame, because it's happened to each and every one of us. It's happened to me included. This is why I'm doing and I've done what I do for so many years, because I understand the importance of this. And I understand most now how knowing this and walking in this frees us up and gives us the power to live a life that is full, that is flowing with peace and joy, that is flowing with understanding, that is flowing with purpose, that you can get up every day and go out every day and fulfill what it is God has placed on the inside of you. And so I want you to understand that as we go through this and you find yourself wherever you may find yourself, I want you to be okay with that, because you're not here to compare yourself with somebody else. You're not here to be what someone else is, even though you may encounter somebody who may have similar archetype as you. You won't function the same. You won't operate the same. And when we get into the details of understanding all of the makeup that goes inside of this, you'll understand why that is. You'll understand why the uniqueness of that really is and how that shapes, it takes place. And so if you don't know, now is the time to know. Because if you don't know your builder pattern, if you don't know your builder archetype, then you end up with some areas in your life that you walk in that are unfulfilled. You walk in imitating someone else's assignment. You walk in imitating what someone else wants you to do. You walk in imitating what someone else wants you to be, and not what you've been genuinely designed to be. You're building outside of your grace. And many of you find yourself in this place, and I have in time past, to where I was operating outside of what I was really graced to do, because I didn't understand what I was graced to do, didn't understand what I was called to do, didn't understand how I had been wired to do it. And I thought I had to do it like everybody else, that I had to be like everybody else. And I didn't. And so if you don't know, you wind up building outside your grace, or trying to operate outside of what you have been given and assigned to do. You also have confusing responsibilities with your calling. You're trying to do someone else's responsibilities, take up the slack for someone else, or do something else, when that's not your gracing. That's not your gifting. That's not your assignment. That's not your call. And so we want to take the confusion out. You'll find yourself fighting battles you weren't built for. And many of you who oftentimes say you're in such great spiritual warfare, you're actually in conflict of the soul. Your soul man is in conflict with what it is that you are trying to get him to do and to operate and be. Your spirit man is trying to do one thing, and your soul man is trying to do something else. So the battles many people are fighting ain't the devil. It's the battles within. It's the internal fighting that you struggle with, because you're doing something outside of what you've been created to do and how you've been created. And so you wind up helping everybody else build while you leave out your own purpose, and you leave your own purposes undone. Here's why many people find themselves more fulfilled in trying to help somebody else do something, but when they come to doing something for themselves, they fall flat. They don't know where to go next, what to do next. But they can get busy in somebody else's field. They can get busy helping somebody else. They can get busy building somebody else's whatever. But they have a problem working on their own thing. And we want to take that out. We want to take that out because when you know how you build, when you know how you've been wired, when you know how God has placed and put in you, you stop wasting time. You stop wasting time on things. You stop wasting time on people. You stop wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter. You stop wasting time on things that you were never meant to carry, things that you were never meant to do, assignments that you were never meant to have, places that you were never meant to go, people you were never meant to work with. I hope I'm helping somebody because identity helps determine your functionality. When you understand who you are, you can properly function. It's a tool. Imagine when the Bible said that we are God's workmanship, we're his product, we're his craftsmanship, we've been created and crafted by him. And so therefore we are tools in his hand. And as a tool, every tool has a purpose. Every tool has a function that's clearly defined. You can use a wrench as a hammer, but it's not designed to be a hammer. That's an improper use of the tool. So if it breaks, if it doesn't properly work, you can't blame the tool. It's being used improperly. Pattern determines performance. When you understand the pattern of your life, you can perform accordingly. Back to the tool analogy. If I'm a hammer, I know my job is to bang. My job is to pull a nail out. But I understand my purpose. I understand my function. So I'm not a hammer trying to screw in a screw. Are you getting me? I'm not a hammer, trying to lay down some tile. I bang on stuff. I beat on stuff as a hammer. If I'm a screwdriver, I unscrew stuff. I unlock stuff. I can try to take the handle of the screwdriver, which we have, and bang a nail in. But guess what? You're going to be all day trying to bang that in. The pattern of the thing determines the performance. And most importantly, grace determines capacity. Because when you understand your functioning, you understand your gifting, you understand your talent, you understand your ability, that gracing determines your capacity to do that thing and how much of it you can do. Here's why you find people who are really graced at what they do, they never run out of energy. They never get exhausted. They never get depleted. I'm not saying they don't get discouraged because I am one, but I never run out of energy doing my assignment. When I am doing my assignment and fulfilling my assignment and walking in my assignment, I never run out of energy. My wife has to make me go to bed, has to make me turn off the computer, has to make me come and eat sometime. Why? Because I am engrossed in what I am doing, because I am graced to do that. And when I'm doing that, I'm at peace doing that. I'm doing that very well, and time just eludes me. But when you don't know how you've been built, when you don't know how you've been wired, when you don't know these things, you waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy. But when you know, you stop wasting time. You stop wasting times on things that don't matter. You stop wasting time on people who don't matter. You stop wasting time in events that don't matter. You're really concerned about maximizing the use of your time, your effort, and your energy to fulfill your assignment. This is the primary reason why millions of people struggle with purpose. I don't care if they're in their 60s, in their 70s. I encounter people all the time, and if I ask them, what is your purpose? What's your function? Many of them can't tell me. Oh, well, I'm just here to be a Christian and to be saved and to love people. And that ain't your primary purpose and function. That's a byproduct of salvation. That's a responsibility of salvation. But that isn't your purpose and your function. God didn't send us here just to get folks saved and just to go to church. And that's not the primary purpose and function of who we are as human beings. We have a task. We have an assignment. We have something that we have been destined and given by God to do. And millions of people struggle with this because they don't know their calling. But and many of them say they do. Many of them say, okay, I know my calling, I know what I'm doing. I'm gifted to sing, or I'm gifted to preach. I'm not talking about your gifting. Because if you don't know your wiring, even with all that gifting, you abuse it, you misuse it, you misapply it, you prostitute it, because you don't really know what you have been called by God as an assignment in the earth to fulfill. Your builder archetype isn't who you want to be. It's who God made you to be. I need you to hear that. I need you to let that resonate and set in. Your builder archetype isn't who you want to be. It's who God made you to be. And when you come into agreement with who God made you to be, you will want to be that. You will want to do that and nothing else. And you won't allow anything else to pull you away or take you away from being that and from doing that and from operating in that. If you're with me and this is good so far, say, this is good. I'm learning something. As a quick review, as I said before, we've already covered these, but I'm going to continue to beat these because these are important and these are key. Because as you are identifying yourself, you're going to find yourself in one or more of these archetypes. And as such, I want you to take note of the functionality, of the capacity of them. All of that is going to be very important. And so, just a short summary and a refresh. We've already gone through this several times. I'm going through it again. The repair heals what's broken, rebuilds trust, restores people and systems. Many of you are repairers. You love working with people. You love operating with people. You love helping people through issues and challenges and problems and all of that stuff. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. The reformer, on the other hand, is a challenger. They are a challenger of things. And because they are challenging things to reshape it, things that are out of order, things that are out of place. They introduce change and corrections because it's not just enough to repair someone. We have to also reform them. And Christ didn't just come to fix what was broken. He came to also challenge us in that brokenness so that we could reshape our lives to become what they should have always become. And many people who just want to help people for the sake of helping people, and you don't bring them to reformation, their character never changes. Their life never changes. Their habits never changes. And this is why you're always paired up with a primary and a secondary, because oftentimes a primary one can get us into trouble. We need two. This is why the Bible says he sent them out two by two, and he gives us two in abundance. And that two is very important because when one is falling short, the other one picks up the slack. And every one of us are wired to have a minimum of two. We may have more than two, but we're only focusing on the primary and secondary because if we go too deep too early, many of you will try to get lost in the details. And I don't want you to get lost in the details. I want you to have a full understanding of this. Thank you, dear heart, for saying this is good. So we talked about the gatekeeper and the guardian. Those one who manages access, protects culture, resources, and identity. And just imagine if all you did was gatekeep and you didn't have a secondary archetype, you will become rigid and strict and just police, straight up police activity all the time. Okay. And that has happened with many people because, as far as I know, and as long as I've lived, and as long as I've been doing this, and as long as I've been saved, I don't know anybody who is teaching this. I don't know anyone who has or currently is. Now, I know some people who are starting to now because they're taking my stuff and running with it, okay? But they don't have the full picture. But I know some people are trying to do some stuff. But I am expert at this because not only have I been living this and walking this, I've been helping people with this for many years. I'm very familiar. And this is why we marry this too. And so the scribe, the recorder, we looked at that, writes the vision, documents. Many of you are writers and visionaries and preservers of divine information, but you get caught up in the details of just writing that. This is why you need another archetype to come along and help you get out of that procrastination of just wanting to write, just wanting to plan, just wanting the blueprint, just wanting to scribe, and then you never publish the book. You never get the draft out there. You never turn on the microphone. You never turn on the camera. You never go live. You never do what it is you're supposed to do because you're busy just in the planning of it all. This is why you need a second archetype to come along. And then the reproducer, the multiplier. And each one of these archetypes, as we already covered them in the weeks past, are very important. And they unite up with another. And one of the things that I share with you during the assessment is what archetypes you best pair with in order to accomplish your assignment. Because each one of these 6 patterns you know, show us the spirituality or the spiritual instincts that each and every one of us have. It may be our leadership ability, our habits, however we flow in the kingdom of God. These archetypes help us do that and help us do that according to the pattern that God has given us. And when we understand them best and we walk in them and we walk them out in their entirety and their fullness, what we begin to see happen in our lives is we begin to see our identity take shape. We begin to now understand who we are. And in understanding that, we now know how we're to function, what we're to do, how we're to operate. And this is important because as we identify your primary archetype, your secondary archetype, I'm going to share with you some things that we look at and look for throughout the process. And so this week, as I said, is all about identification. Because if you've done your assignments and you've gone through and put them together, this is going to be fairly reasonably simple for you to just start now mapping things out and drawing lines from here to there and bringing things together. Now, if you haven't done your prep work, if you haven't done your foundation work, then this is going to be very difficult and challenging because you're not going to understand what I'm saying or what we're doing or whatever. And I have checks in place where I'm not going to let you go forward if you can't put in the foundation work, because that's just more information that you don't need to just let sit and not do anything with. I want to empower you to take that information and turn it into revelation so that you can begin walking in transformation. So some of the things you're going to be looking for on how you identify these archetypes are these. Here's what to look for during your times of assessment, because you're going to do all of this in paper ever before you touch the app that I built. I'm not even going to let you touch the app that I built until you've done this out on paper, because you should have a good idea already by now with the weeks that we spent together, understanding at least one of your primaries and at least your secondary. You should have some kind of idea what that may look like. My job is to affirm or reaffirm what that is. And so your primary pattern is the one that shows up without trying. This is the indicator how you know this is your primary archetype. You don't have to do anything for it to show up. It just shows up. It's just there all the time with you. It's just functioning, it's just operating, it's just the norm. And many of you don't realize and understand how important that already is. You're looking for something else. You're looking to be something else. You're looking to do something else when your primary pattern constantly shows up in your life. And I'm going to give you some indicators as to what that does to you when it shows up. Ask yourself this: what do I do naturally when something is broken or unclear or unfinished? Because it's what you do naturally, automatically, pretty much, that shows what your primary archetype is. Whether it's a problem, challenge, an issue, a phone call, helping someone, doing a task, doing a chore, doing a good job, whatever it is, it shows up. You show up. You show up as that authentic self that's in you without even trying. You get up in the morning, it's there because you're there. And it's what you do naturally and normally all the time. Ask yourself, do I heal it? I may be a repairer. Do I jump right on it and want to just fix it? I just always want to go into fix it mode. I remember early in my marriage, I've walked in this quite a bit. My wife would come to me with things and I automatically always wanted to fix it. Always want to fix it. She says, I don't need you to always fix it. I just need you sometimes just listen to what I'm saying. I was like, okay, that's just the repair in me. I'm the fix it man. For many years I grew up as that because that's what my father called me, Mr. Fix It, Mr. Mojo. Do you change it? You're a reformer. You go into a room and you rearrange it. You walk into an office and you redesign it. You go into a room and people are acting chaotically, you bringing some order to it. You say, hey, let's come together, let's pray, let's get into a host in here, and you just automatically take charge. You may be the reformer. Do you protect it? You find yourself being overly guarded over people and things and time and all of that. You automatically go into protector mode. It's not always about being the bigger sibling. I know some younger siblings that are more protective than older siblings. So it's not about the age as it is, because if you're a gatekeeper and you're protected, it's already in you. Do you discern immediately? You can walk into a room, walk into an atmosphere, walk into an environment, and you automatically know, man, the devil up in here, some evil up in here, some people ain't operating right up in here. We got to do something about this atmosphere. We got to change the mood. We got to bring a song, bring some worship, bring something up here to change this environment. You may be a watchman. Do you record it? You find yourself taking notes, you know, I'm talking about crazily. You got notebooks all over the place. You got journals all over the place. You got notepads everywhere. You just find yourself writing, writing, writing all the time. You just can't stop. Scribe may be your primary. And do you reproduce it? Do you have a tendency to just reproduce it? These are your teachers. These are your educators. These are the people who are looking to multiply what's in you, or what needs to be done, or what needs to happen, or what needs to take place. But all of these archetypes, no matter what they are, all of these are instinctual. And the instincts reveal your identity. Oftentimes, we talk about things like tuition, instinct. I had to correct someone a couple of weeks ago about deja vu. You don't necessarily do deja vu, that's of another dimension, but things that are spiritual in the, let's say in the light arena. We have things like revelation, we have things like open vision. Those instincts, those what you may call nudges or urges. For women, it may be intuition, this inner knowing a gift. Don't know how they know, but they just know. Those things reveal your identity. And if you haven't been taking notice of them, or you've been dismissing them, or you've been allowing other people to dismiss them, I want to encourage you to not allow that to happen anymore. We used to have a saying back in the day, trust your gut. Well, everybody's gut can't be trusted, but in this particular case, trust those instincts. If you feel people say something or it, it is the Spirit of God living on the inside of us that warns us, that gives us revelation, that gives us information, that gives us details. Those instincts reveal our identity. And when we pay attention to them and we bring them to the forefront, things begin to become clearer. Secondly, how you begin to notice these patterns, and how you find out what your second support is for your primary, is understanding, as I said earlier, every one of us are paired. And in that pairing, we have a primary and a secondary. And that primary is our dominant, and that secondary reinforces that dominant with the grace that it needs not to become imbalanced, because it takes two to balance a scale. One is an imbalanced scale. Two balances the scale and equalizes it. This is why I paired it in twos, so that you live balanced and not unbalanced. And many people who only function or focus on one and not the other are imbalanced. They're overhyper, super hyper, oversensitive, super sensitive, easily angered, over angered, because they don't have the balance of the second one to bring that. And until you learn to marry the primary and secondary, many people often, this is why people can go from 100 to zero quickly, because they have no balance, they have no scale to balance them out. And so we want to help you with that. Here's an example. A repairer may naturally lean toward a watchman as a secondary, because a prayer needs a watchman or a watch type. Because if all I'm doing is trying to fix people, and I'm not watching, then I get over engrossed into their life. I get pulled into their realm. I get pulled into their life. I get pulled into them, and I need to be pulled back out of that sometimes. I need to be pulled away from that so I don't become engrossed in that. A reformer may be paired with the gatekeeper as a secondary, because as a reformer, I can't just always be the hammer banging down and knocking down stuff. I need to also protect and to preserve. See, every builder has at least two. Many of us, when we get to the mastery level, we have more than two because we've learned to operate throughout our gracing and our gifting fluidly. We'll talk about some of that in the weeks to come because as you move up in operation and you operate in it more regularly and more frequently and more consistently, you find that it's in the combination that shapes your life, that shapes your ministry, that shapes your business, that shapes your leadership, that shapes who you are, that shapes your calling, that shapes your entire essence of being. And when you learn to flow fluidly in and out, you will operate in multiple of these throughout your lifetime. Here's why I can honestly say I went from many of these, operated in many giftings and callings and function until I got to a place where I believe God settled me and just say, okay, it's okay to just stay right here right now. But in my early days of ministry, I operated in so many people didn't know what to call me. Here's why coming up in ministry, people call me everything from apostle to prophet to pastor to teacher to evangelist to this to that. I was all over the place because I did many of those things because I was searching and trying to find who I was and what I was to do. And I did not limit God in doing that. I did not say, I just want to be one and operate in one. I say, God, however you want to use me, whenever you want to use me, however, I was open to that and I was able to flow throughout. This is why I know many of these so well, and I can tell people immediately when I meet them where they're at. And many of you who've been around me any length of time know that to be true. I've identified things in you that you haven't even known that was in the inside of you because I understand these very well. However, it is your areas of shortcoming or shortfall or weakness that also help you throughout this journey. And this is very important because as we understand, and I want you to understand weakness from the point and the perspective of it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are overly struggling, although it may be a struggle at times to accept the fact that there's weakness. That weakness, as the scripture said, becomes a strength if you understand the purpose of the weakness and how to turn that weakness into a strength. What do I mean? Well, your weakness also reveals a pattern in you. And if you don't embrace that weakness, it could be your failure or your demise. I remember in corporate America, you were always asked this question 9 times out of 10. They would ask you, well, give me some of your strengths and give me some of your weaknesses. And people would automatically take a strength and make it a weakness. Well, I have a tendency to overwork or to work longer or not to quit or not to give up. That's not necessarily a weakness. You've identified something in you and you turned it into a weakness. That's not what I'm talking about. A weakness is an area that you struggle often. And in struggling often, it hints at your design because we have gotten to a place now, didn't used to be, but we've gotten to a place now to where many people have become uncomfortable with struggle, especially this generation. They don't really know how to struggle, know what the struggle is because they've had parents that just always be there for them, bail them out, give them money, take care of them, or whatever. So they don't really know what a struggle is. They don't really know what it is to work through something, to press your way through something, to endure through something. But where you struggle often hints at your design. For example, repairers struggle with boundaries, as I mentioned earlier. If I'm a repairer and I'm just seeking to just help people's lives and help people out, the boundary that gets crossed is I become too common with you. I become too personal with you. I become too engaged and engrossed in your life and in your affairs to where, I take on a mama, daddy, kind of role, pastoral kind of role, always want to be there for you, check up on you and stuff. Well, that's not our job. That's God's job. But repair struggle is they lose sight of boundaries if they're not paired with a secondary archetype. Reformers struggle with patience. I know this very well because you want people to get it and get it fast and get it now. Let's get going. Let's keep on moving with it. We struggle with patience, and this is why we need a secondary archetype to balance us out. People who are gatekeepers struggle with trust. They are the ones who are always on guard, always looking, always got one eye open, one eye peering. The kind of people. And I've had those people surrounded by for years, especially people that work close with me in ministry, armor bearers, and people of that nature. And it was good to have those kind of people there. But as we had to teach them and balance them, is that they can't always be a guard dog and a watchdog. They have to also balance that. Watchmen struggle with isolation because they're always so busy, concerned about being in the spirit, watching for this, watching for that, hearing for this, hearing for that. They struggle with isolation, and that isolation can become an enemy. Many of the prophets in scripture struggled with this because they were watchmen on the wall. They were gatekeepers. They struggled with trust. They struggled with isolation. And God would come to them and tell them, hey, get out of this cave, get from under this tree, go out here, move, go out here and do this, go out here and do the next thing. Multipliers struggle with burnout because they are, scribes struggle with perfection. Scribes struggle with perfection, as I said before, because you just want to write. Plan, and never do. How many of you find yourself in this as a scribe? You got more plans, you got more to-do lists, you got more notebooks than you can, do in a lifetime, and haven't done anything that's contained therein. I know a lot of people like this, and I'm trying to help them, but they run away from me as a reformer because, like I say, I don't have a lot of patience, and I try to pull it out of them. And then finally, multipliers struggle with burnout. They struggle with burnout because they're the people who want to just get it done, even if they have to do it themselves. They want to keep getting it done. They want to keep working on it, keep going. And they struggle with burnout. These are people that you find out have to go in isolation from time to time, have to take sabbaticals all the time, have to go shut themselves down all the time because they're just so busy always wanting to go, always wanting to increase in their life, increase in people's life, bring increase here, bring increase there, etc., etc. Your weakness points to your wiring, not your failure. This is what I want you to understand. As I said earlier, as I was caveating this area of weakness, your weakness points to your wiring, not your failure. So none of these that I've mentioned, none of these struggles are failures. It's just the way you've been wired. And until you learn and understand this, you see these shortcomings as failures in your life. Many of us have, and many of you will, because you don't understand they are a part of how you're wired and how best to use them. That's why I'm here to help take that confusion out, help take that struggle out, because it is not a failure to have a weakness. I want that to sit in. I want you to let that marinate. It is not a failure to have a weakness. When you understand the purpose of it, when you understand why it's there and what is there, because it's in that weakness. The Bible said we are what? Made strong. And this is why God leaves it there. He does not remove our weaknesses because it's in those areas of weakness that we are made strong. They're not failures. They are weaknesses that need to be made strong, and they're made strong when another archetype comes along and strengthens them, whether it be within you or whether it be another one coming alongside to work with you. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then finally, the next area of identifying your primary and secondary archetype is the area of your greatest frustration. And every one of us have this. Every one of us have an area of great frustration, something that frustrates us. Something just, as I say, get my goat. Get me to go and just, I want to help you. Because that area of frustration also helps point to your primary and secondary archetype. Because what you need to understand is this. When God formed you and me, He designed codes in your personality, in your passions, in your pain, and even in your process. Scientists said that these are imprints in our DNA. And everybody has a unique code. Call it the codex. Every one of us has been coded. This is why Jeremiah 129 is so powerful, because God said, in the belly I formed you and I knew you. And if we look that up in the Hebrew, it says, I was so intimately acquainted with you that I was one with you in the womb. That's how weaved God is into us, into our personality, our passions, our pain, and our processes. And it's only through the denial of Him that we cause the iniquity or the separation of Him from our soul to take place. And Romans chapter 1 talks about this, how people can be given to the opposite of what God has formed them to be and created them to be, and love that more so than what He's given and created them to be, that they actually create a twisted version of themselves. And it's actually an untwisting of God from you, because you're weaving Him out and weaving more iniquity in. And we don't want to get to that place. Here's why I believe now is the time for you to embrace your divine design and start understanding how you've been wired, so you don't see this as failures in your life. You don't see this as missed opportunities, but you see this now as areas to where you can capitalize on and grow from. And when we do, what begins to happen is we begin to understand that our passions reveal our burden. The things that we are greatly passionate about reveals the burden of our heart. It reveals what we cry out to God after. It reveals what we spend our nights in prayer and anguish over. It reveals what we go through when we hear people fall on hard times or hard trouble. That area of passion reveals your burden, and your gifts reveal your tools. The things that you have been gifted by God to do reveals the tools that He's given you to do it. And this is why we tie all of this into the assessment, because I don't just stop with understanding your archetypes. I help you understand your talents, your abilities, your gifts, your skills, your areas of weakness, your areas of frustration, your areas of struggle, because your struggles reveal your training ground. The areas that you struggle in reveals the training that you need in order to not let that struggle turn into a frustration for you, not let that area of struggle turn into a barrier for you, but build upon that. Your struggles reveal your training ground, because you were built. You were built to build, and you were built to build something. You were built to do something. You were built to build, and nothing about you is accidental. God didn't make no mistakes. I know this generation want to say, well, it was a mistake in the wiring. It was a mistake God made. I'm this, I'm that. No, no, no. You just haven't embraced, because you don't understand how you've been wired. You don't understand how you've been built. You don't understand how you've been created. So you're denying that existence in you in order to embrace something outside you. And notice all of that stuff is outside of people. I know they're trying to say it's inside, trying to say it's the way I feel, but feeling is an external thing. Feeling is something that comes upon you, not something that is in you. We're not born with those things. We've adopted and adapted those feelings and things of that. Anyway, the thing that you complain most about, the thing that you spend your hours and days complaining about mostly, is a great indication that's the assignment that you've been called to fix. The very thing that challenges you at work, that challenges you on the job, that challenges you in the marketplace, thing that you're going to work every day complaining about and frustrated about, that's the assignment you're most called to fix. And when I began focusing on that, my career soared. I was always in demand. I was always called upon. I was always the man that they would come to when there was something that needed to happen, and happen quickly. Why? Because the thing that I complained about it to the right people. And in so doing, they said, well, fix it, make it happen, because it's a problem for us too. It's a frustration and an issue and a challenge for us too. And so we want it gone. And I became good at that. And you will too, once you understand how to tap into your archetype. Are you getting anything out of this? I'm almost wrapping it up here this evening. I'm going to bring it to a close, but I want to just tell you a few things that you can expect as you continue going through this process. And one of the things is this: you will begin to feel more confident every day about who you are. When you understand yourself at this deep level and you embrace that and you really began to model that and walk that out, you begin to walk in such boldness and confidence that to some people it can appear to be arrogant, but it's not. Boldness, there's nothing wrong with boldness and confidence. The Bible tells us just not to think more highly of ourselves, but it didn't say we aren't to think highly. We ought to have a high estimation of ourselves. We should think that we are better than most of us do. And many people think that they just this, that, lowly, this, down and out, that, no good, nobody, this, no good, nobody. One of my students posted their assessment this week, and I was so glad to hear that they were overcoming those things of thinking that they were no good and can never get anywhere and can never have anything and can never do better. All of those are lies and tricks of the enemy. And one of the things the assessment is going to do for you is going to help you become more confident in who you are. And it's only going to take 7 to 10. It may take you 15 minutes if you take some time to, ponder it, pause, it's at your own pace. But the great thing about it is the questions are deeply vetted, deeply embedded throughout, and it's going to help you map out and map across all the archetypes. I don't just assume you're one or the other. I let you touch every one of them throughout it so that we can clearly identify where you are. And your score, not a pass or fail, but we score you based upon the model that we put together so that we can gauge where you are, where you're going, and where you're supposed to be. So it's a scale. And in that score, it gives me a scale when I review it. I can see your progress because you're going to take the assessment multiple times if you continue on this journey with me. If you're truly interested in understanding this and knowing this finally, you're going to take it multiple times because you're going to be growing, you're going to be learning, you're going to be doing, you're going to be evolving. And in so doing, you're going to get clarity based on the pattern. And based on the pattern maps you out where you're going. And then I don't just leave you there. I say, here's how to get there. You want to move from just the apprentice level to the journeyman. Here's the path you need to take. You want to move from just being a journeyman unto being a master builder. Here's the path that you need to take. You're going to understand your builder instincts, what it takes to build at every level, what it takes to get to the next level. I didn't want to leave anything per chance because some of you are going to go out to the workplace and all of this is going to be applicable. Some of you are in ministry. All of this is going to be applicable. Some of you are just homemakers, and that's fine, but this is going to be applicable. How you lead your family, how you do things around your house. All of this is going to help you throughout life to be the version of yourself you were always designed and created to be. And you're going to receive next steps, activation points, and I'm here with you every step of the way. I hope you're excited because I am. Because this gives you and me the confidence that we need. And it's going to remove fear. It's going to remove hesitation. It's going to remove procrastination. It's going to remove doubt because now you have a clear roadmap on how you can begin walking out the rest of your life. How does that sound? Does that sound exciting to you? I know it does to me. It sounds exciting to me. And I wish somebody had this available for me some 40 years ago. I was sharing Mona Lisa at dinner. I said, honey, if I had this 40 years ago or so, I said, man, I would have been retired at the beach by now. Because there's so many people I could have helped with this. But I'm really grateful and thankful that I'm able to do it now because I'm still here. You're still here, which means we still have time. So I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 40. I don't care if you're 60. I don't care if you're 80. I don't care if you're 70. If you are still here, You still have time to fulfill your assignment. You still have time to do what it is God has put in you to do. Okay? Listen, I want to awaken something within you. I want you to do this with me and say this with me because I believe if I speak to the sleeper on the inside of each and every one of us, he or she will awake and they will awake within. And then I can lead you with boldness into the next phase of the life God has for you. Say this aloud with me. Father, I'm asking that you reveal my divine pattern. As I walk through this and as I take this assessment, I ask that you reveal my divine assignment and pattern. Show me the blueprint that you wrote into my design. I know you're intimately acquainted with every facet of my life. Expose every false identity I've carried up to now. Because we want to rid ourselves of false identities. We want to rid ourselves of trying to be something that we're not, trying to do something we are not graced at. We want to rid ourselves of that. We want to walk in our genuine purpose. Father, awaken the builder within me. Make my purpose clear. Let my calling speak to me so loudly it's undeniable. We're going to have this available for you. And if you're one of my students, you'll have this prayer in the classroom so that you can pray this and decree this and declare this throughout this week and the weeks ahead. But I want to declare over you that as you faithful to declare this and pray this and walk in this and do this, I want to declare over you that you will not guess your assignment any longer. You will not wander in this season. I declare no more wandering for you. I declare you will not imitate another, but you will be your genuine self. I declare you will walk boldly in your divine pattern and not that of another. I declare you will be the one of a kind, unique workmanship God has created you to be from this day forward. In Yeshua's name. Amen. And I felt that. I don't know about you. I felt that in my soul. I received that for me as well as for you. I hope you've been getting something out of this week 4. And this is 4A. I've got 4B and 4C coming because we got so much, because I don't want anyone to miss it. I don't want anyone to go into assessment time still questioning. I want you to go in here clear. So as you take it, when the results come back, you're surprised, but you're ecstatic. You're ecstatic to finally know that you know that you know. That's how confident I am with this. That's how many hours I've spent with God and in it and in my assignment, making sure this is going to be revolutionary. Now, before we close, before I let you out of here, I always got to give you some work, and there's plenty of it, plenty more coming. Here's your journaling exercise for this week. So you've been keeping your journal, been keeping your journal notes. Here's some things you need to jot down in it so that you can have these at the ready when it's time. I want you to honestly journal down these questions and ask yourself these. What do I instinctively do when something is broken or unclear? Back to what we said earlier. What's the thing that I immediately jump to and I start doing when I walk in the room, walk into an environment, walk into the house, whatever the case may be? What do I just do instinctually without even thinking, without even understanding? I just go into that mode What that is, write that down and write that down. It's going to be important. Secondly, ask yourself, which builder trait in which 3A through C feel like home to me? By now, you should have a good indication of which one and which two feel like home to you. Feel like, you know what? That's me right there. Now, the assessment may come up with something different, but it won't be that far off. So you should have some kind of indication already what that may be. I had my wife take her assessment and she came out pretty much 99.9% right on what she thought it was. There were some things that came to her enlightenment, same with me, but pretty much right on point. So you can already know and have some idea. And then finally, what do others constantly come to me for? This is going to be one of those ones that's going to help the secondary archetype. What do others constantly come to me for? Come to me for healing, structure, discernment, teaching, help, assistance, whatever it is. Because in the assessment, I have a helps category as well, where all of your giftings is wrapped up into. It's going to be important. And then finally, where do I feel the most grace? That's a question I'm asking you. Didn't put it in your homework, didn't put it in your assignments, it'd be in the back office. But where do you feel the most grace right now in any one of these? Just make a little note in your journal. It may be different than the other ones, but you may have another one that you say, you know, I could sense myself in that. I can feel myself in that. I can see myself doing some of that. And these are questions, all of these are questions that's going to bring clarity to your spirit. And they're going to prime you for the weeks to come. They're going to help you become more clear and more focused as we continue moving forward. Okay? Listen, I'm so fired up right now. I'm getting hot over here in this chair. But I want you to reflect this week as you're going through the exercises and don't just run through them. Spend some time actually reflecting upon them, reflecting on your life, thinking about how life now for you is changing, is evolving, is growing. Reflection time is something that I do every night. I sit back and reflect on what I've done, what I want to do. Sometimes I'm journaling before I go to bed on my phone. Sometimes I'm waking up in the middle of the night because a thought come to me. I'm putting it down so I can remember the first thing in the morning to pick that back up or whatever. But spend some time reflecting if you have it. Because here's what that's going to do for you. It's going to help you discover that you are not discovering something new. As I said before, shouldn't be a over shockingly experience where you didn't know some of these things. It should be revelatory, yes, but it should also be familiar enough to say, you know what, I had some idea of that. I thought something like that. This is some confirmation for me. Because you're not discovering something new, you are actually remembering something ancient. Just remember, we came from God. We were a spirit. We were with him in the beginning, always were with him. And when we came to this planet known as Earth, we came here with the Ancient of Days already in us. So we're remembering something that is ancient. And what we're remembering is we're remembering that we're God's blueprint, we're God's design. We are God's workmanship, his product. And he's crafted us. And tonight, you're just coming back into alignment with your original design. And throughout these weeks, my job has been to just bring you back into alignment with who you are originally created to be. Because when we operate in that origin nature, we're operating in the divine. Let that sink in. When you operate in the original design of God, you're operating in that was, that is, and that forever shall be. This is why Yeshua said, I was, I am, and I shall forever shall be. I don't change. I did not change. I am it from the beginning. I am it now, and I will always be it. I am the same. I am functioning according to the original design God has given me, to the original pattern He has put in me. So I can only do that He has spoken, that He has said, that He has shown me, that He has demonstrated to me. And you and I have been given that same God-like nature to do and to walk in that as well, just like He. Is that making sense to anybody? So my prayer for you as we close today is that I pray for clarity, I pray for your identity, and I pray for your confidence in God to be what it should be. So Father, thank you for divine patterns, divine purpose, and prophetic design. Reveal to each of your builders their dominant gracing, their dominant gifting, their dominant skill. Remove confusion, remove comparison, remove fear and doubt, remove shame and embarrassment, remove, most of all, competition, because we're not in competition with anyone. Give them eyes to see themselves as you see them. Let this time of assessment be the discovery and the doorway to their identity and their assignment. This I pray in Yeshua's name. Amen and amen and amen. Man, I am so excited for you. I'm so excited for me. I'm so excited for us. I am ready for some things to happen for us in this hour. Finally, before we go, let me give you your assignments, and these will all be in the classroom for you as well. So when you log into the classroom this evening and this weekend, your assignments will be there. So I want you to, if you haven't, please, 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 please go through and complete all your past Kingdom Architect assignments in preparation for the assessment. This is going to be very important because once you take the assessment, it's time to get off and running. I'm not just going to let you sit on more information. We're going to help you blueprint what to do with it, how to get a better job if that's what you want, how to move if somewhere if that's what you want, how to get out of the community that you're in if that's what you desire, how to go forward in life if that's what you desire. I'm going to be empowering you to move, and you're going to need that information as the roadmap to move forward. So your assignment is to complete all your past Kingdom Architects assignments. They're all in the classroom. You can take your time, go through them. You have time to do them because these are all in preparation and they are prep work for the assessment. And in so doing, your assignment is to identify a primary and a secondary. Don't lock it down. Write it in pencil. It doesn't matter, because it may change. And then you're going to be bringing those results with you to the upcoming weeks because each week we're going to build upon them. And because as we go into next week, I'm going to talk to you more about the T.A.G.S framework, the talents, the abilities, the gifts, and the skills, how they come into play and how they are a part of this architectural design that lives within you. They're a big part. So I want you to declare that I'm aligned with my divine destiny, my divine pattern. I want you to declare that this week, that I am aligned with my divine pattern. Heaven built me to build, and I know who I am, and I know how I build. That is going to be your declaration heretofore. So once you know this, you can be declared, hey, I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do, and I know who I'm here to do it for. Now, I can just start doing it. Don't need no help. Don't need no permission. Don't need nobody's okay. I'm good, and I'm ready to go forward and to get it done. All right? Listen, we're almost out of here. I hope you've got something out of this and you enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to dig a little bit more deeper into this. I'm going to be showing up in the online classroom this week as well to talk to you. Those of you who want to join me there, please join me there. Uh, I'm going to ask you questions, address anything that you may still have questions about while we're there in the private community, as well as sharing some more information. I'm not going to always put out here publicly in YouTube for a lot of reasons, but I'll talk to you about that in the community. But next week, I want you to prepare for this. Your emails will be going out. Your assignments is going out. We're going to be stepping into part 2 of this identity framework where I'm going to be talking to you about the talents, abilities, gifts, and skills that form your divine wiring of your design. Tonight, we just touched a little bit on that, but the T.A.G.S framework that we have trademarked is a part of our identity work. It's a deep part of our identity work. Tonight, we just awakened a little bit about who you are, but in next week, we're going to actually be revealing how you've been built to be that. Because once you see the pattern, once you understand that, you understand your talents, your abilities, your gifts, and your skills, you understand how they form your divine wiring of your design. And this is our signature framework, which is key. It's key in helping you understand your internal wiring and how you've been built to build. It helps you to understand the things that you are strong at, where you put your hands to prosper, the gifts and talents and abilities that God has placed in you for promotion, for raises, for increases. Once you see the pattern of this and you see how heaven has stitched them together so intricately into you, your assignments become clear. You stop feeling hidden and you're seen now. Your next steps will finally become clearer. You can now begin doing what it is you've always dreamt of doing and dreamt of being and dreamt of becoming. It's no longer guessing. You're no longer guessing. The guesswork has been taken out. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because I know when I became clear, I didn't have to guess on what my next job was going to be, what my next raise is going to be, where I wanted to go work at next. I knew it because I knew what I was gifted to do. I knew what was in my hands to do. I knew my strengths. I knew my talents. I knew my skills. I knew my abilities. So I knew where I wanted to go work. I knew what industries I wanted to go work in. I knew what money I wanted to make as a result of what I'm doing. The guesswork was eliminated when I got clear. And God is waiting for you to get clear so that you can all the guesswork can go away so that you can walk your life and walk out the rest of your life with clarity. So I pray you got something out of this, something profound out of this lesson tonight. And I can't wait to work with you. Can't wait to walk with you through the process. Can't wait to start helping you out. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down in the video this evening. Post them in the community as well, and I'll make sure that I address them. You can always reach out to me on our social media or respond to any of the emails that I send you if you're on my mailing list and you're a part of the Kingdom Architect community. Listen, I pray the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you and grant unto you his shalom, his everlasting peace. I pray that he would continue to give you joy unspeakable and full of glory. I pray that everything that you set your hands to will prosper and bring you into the God kind of success, that there be nothing broken and nothing missing and nothing lacking in your life heretofore. And until next time, I pray that he that is faithful to watch over us all, watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another, till he bring us back to this appointed time and place. Until then, take care. God bless, peace and blessing, and shalom, and see you again next week. Bye for now.